Hey guys, welcome back to another video here on Toned In Entertainment, where we're talking all things pop culture. And now it's time for our weekly AEW report, or as one WWE champion put it this week, the minor leagues. Yeah, Mr. WWE Champion, I'm not even going to give you the satisfaction of saying your names, but if this is the minors, you know what? The majors can learn a lot because I'm loving the minor leagues right now. All right, guys, let's get into our report for Wednesday, October 23rd, 2019. And you know what? This show kicks off with a bang with the tag team tournament of the Lucha Brothers versus the Private Party. I think this is one of those matches I can't even put into words. I honestly started taking notes like I do every week, and I just put my notepad down because I couldn't keep up with the action and writing at the same time. This match was that good. Now, there wasn't a lot of wrist locks and arm bars. There was just a ton of high-flying, high-impact, circus-like maneuvers the entire match. And let me tell you, Private Party every week keeps getting more impressive. And I know the Lucha Brothers and the Young Bucks are definitely the most mainstream team, but you really have to look out for the Private Party. These guys are doing something big, and I think these guys will be big-time players in AEW's tag team division. I mean, throughout this match, there's just one high impact move after another, one close fall after another. The Lucha Brothers are absolutely insane. The Private Party's absolutely insane. And it was just so hard almost to even keep up with this match. But you know what? I was entertained throughout the entire match. And I don't know how these guys didn't even break their neck during this match doing all these high flying maneuvers. Now, the Private Party definitely won me over a couple weeks ago when they beat the Young Bucks. And the only thing that has changed is I'm becoming bigger fans of them as the weeks go on. And deep down, I was really rooting for them to get the win. But it was the experience of the Lucha Brothers that got the big W this week, and they advance next week to crown the first ever AEW Tag Team Champions. Now, there's no stopping the action here as we go right into another tag team match. We got the SCU versus the Dark Order, and the winner of this semifinals match will fight the Lucha Brothers next week for the tag team championships. You know what? I've seen in several chat rooms of several groups, a lot of people criticizing Evil Uno. They say he can't wrestle or that he's too big to be in the ring. But you know what? If you sit back and you watch this match, Evil Uno is pretty good and he's entertaining. So I like the fact that he doesn't fit the cookie cutter mold of what people think wrestlers should look like. Now, one of the things I know the Young Bucks said when they started AEW was that they were really going to focus in on tag team wrestling, and they've done just a fantastic job. This is one of the best tag team divisions I've seen in a very long time. In fact, there seems to be just a lot of tag team wrestling on AEW's weekly programming, to be honest, and I'm perfectly okay with that. It's all about great matches, and the SCU and the Dark Order continue to have another great match here. Again, watch out for Evil Uno. Even as a big man, he has some good speed to him as well, and he's a real powerhouse. And I think he's a great compliment in this tag team. It seems like tonight's theme was Stomp. Here we've got back-to-back stomps by both members of the SCU. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of icy hot going around for all these wrestlers at the end of the night. Now, as the match goes on, here comes Jericho and his inner circle, and the crowd goes absolutely nuts. Now, they kind of did an homage to the NWO with Scott Hall and Kevin Nash on the nights that they weren't wrestling, and they would buy tickets to get into the arena, so I thought that was a lot of fun. Then they had them up in the booth watching the match, eating popcorn and kind of just taunting throughout the entire match. And not that this match needed anything extra, but I felt like it gave it another element for television. At one point, it looks like SCU is going to get the victory. They've got them in submission moves. You've got more high-flying moves, tornado DDTs, and then a big knee shot, and Scorpio Sky gets the pin. And just like I thought would happen, SCU advances into the tag team tournament for next week. Now, if you guys haven't been watching AEW Dark, you guys are really missing out. I'm really enjoying the extra matches that they give us on Tuesday that they didn't air on TV. It streams on YouTube, so it's free to watch. You don't need cable or anything. And it's usually about an hour and 15 minutes. There's no commercials, so it's a lot of just like wrestling action and some really good interviews. Now, speaking of that, this is actually a rematch of one of those AEW Dark matches, which if you have not seen, go back and watch it because it's an insane hardcore match between Kenny Omega and Joey Janela. But for television, they go more of a classic wrestling style. And I really enjoyed actually seeing Joey Janela wrestle instead of doing a lot of hardcore actions. I think a lot of people who haven't seen Joey Janela outside of AEW think he's just going to be like a stuntman or a hardcore wrestler. But Joey Janela was very impressive in a good technical wrestling match versus Kenny Omega. Now, just because this was a classic wrestling match doesn't mean there weren't some insane stuff as well. Kenny Omega flying over the top rope. Joey Janela with some very stiff uppercuts, chops, and boots. even like a guillotine kick swipe. But Kenny Omega does what Kenny Omega does, and he goes all ham with his Snapdragon suplexes. Janela lands an elbow drop a la the Macho Man Randy Savage. Kenny face plants him into the turnbuckle. Janela goes on the onslaught and seems to hit him with move after move, but still can't get the victory. Then he takes an insane bump on the outside ring apron. Now, I thoroughly enjoyed the high intensity of this match, and it's Kenny Omega who gets the big victory here. Now, I'm hoping Joey Janela can pick up some victories. He's put his body on the line, and he's shown that he can hold his own in a classic wrestling match in front of AEW fans as well. So I'm hoping we can get some victories for Joey Janela going in the future. Now, into the next segment, we get Tony Schiavone in the ring, and he's getting ready to interview Cody Rhodes when he's, well, interrupted. Now, we get a great promo by Jericho. Jericho is still absolutely hilarious, and he's taunting Cody Rhodes. He's telling him, come up and challenge me, but I've got 4 and you've only got 1. That's when the music hits and we get MJF coming out. Then we get Dustin Rhodes coming out. So now it's 3 on 4, and we get one more person. We get It's Me, it's DDP. Now, several weeks ago, I did a concerns video for AEW, and one of my concerns was like showing that older guard off too much. But I like the fact as long as they're not main eventers and they're not on all the time, I'm happy with seeing classic guys like DDP come out, maybe for just like one match, even when the spotlight isn't on them. I think it gives the fans some nostalgia, and we get to see the new guys wrestle them as well. Now, as Cody has his team of 4, they head up the stairs, and Chris Jericho quickly hides inside a room. And Cody Rhodes grabs MJF's sweater and breaks the glass, and then a brawl breaks out, and they go all the way into the concession area fighting. People are going crazy. They run outside, people are cheering, and even with the action not taking place inside the wrestling ring, it was definitely a lot of fun to see these guys brawl out with all the fans cheering and having a good time. And I'm thinking they're setting up for a big 8-man tag team match between these guys coming in the future. And we didn't have Jake Hagar interfering this week either, so we had even numbers of 4 on 4. Now, when Hagar does return, they said he was off getting ready for an MMA fight. I don't mind a 5 on 5 match. I just don't want uneven odds. I want a fair and balanced match between these guys and really let them fight it out. Now, as we go into our next match, we have more tag team action. We have the Best Friends versus the Young Bucks. And honestly, what more can you say? All you have to do is watch the match to know just how great these two tag teams are. And Orange Cassidy, I think he's starting to win over the fans little by little each and every week. I love his taunts, and the way he interferes, it's not too overbearing, but it still helps the Best Friends out at the same time. Now again, these guys go back and forth, brawling it out, fighting it out, doing tremendous things. And once again, AEW just continues with another great tag team match, but it's the Young Bucks getting the win over the Best Friends. Now we move on to our women's match of the night, and we've got Dr. Britt Baker taking on Jamie Hayter. Now, being in Britt Baker's hometown of Pittsburgh, the crowd was definitely 100% behind the Doctor. And I think this has been my favorite match of Britt Baker so far. And to be honest, I've never seen a match of Jamie Hayter, but I did enjoy her wrestling style. Now, she did have the weight and size advantage over the Doctor, but the Doctor was able to handle her very well. And I think being in her hometown of Pittsburgh, she pushed herself just a little harder and put on a really good match. Now, Britt Baker has been kind of in a slump. She lost to Riho last week, but I figured being in her hometown of Pittsburgh, there was no way she wasn't going to get the victory, and that's exactly what happened. She sinks in the lockjaw, and she makes Jamie Hayter tap out. Now it's time for our main event. We've got our two caged animals, Moxley versus PAC. Now, I was kind of worried going into this match because there wasn't much TV time remaining, and I was hoping TNT was going to let them run just a little bit longer. Now, these two savages go at it one after another, move after move. PAC seems to be mostly on the onslaught, but Moxley takes in the punishment. It's like it fuels him. And once Moxley gets going, he becomes that savage dog, hitting PAC with brutal clotheslines, locking him in the Texas cloverleaf. But PAC fights back. PAC hits him with a crazy 360 splash, then he misses a high-risk maneuver. There's an announcement that TV time is running out. Moxley makes a quick offensive push, but he's only able to get a 2 count. He goes for another pin, but they make the announcement that TV time has run out. That's very frustrating when you see guys like Moxley and PAC in the main event and TV time runs out. It's almost as frustrating as back in the WCW days when Tony Schiavone would go, "Fans, we're out of time, we gotta go," except for the match just ended and the crowd wasn't very happy. I mean, I kind of understand why they went with a draw, because I don't think they're ready to have PAC or Moxley lose to one another right away. I think they're building for something bigger. but it's the main event and it was a little frustrating. Now it's time for my letter grade for week 4 of AEW Dynamite. In week 1, I gave the show an A-. Week 2 I thought was better and I gave it an A, but last week I gave it a B. But you know what? AEW really redeemed itself this week and I'm giving the show an A. I thought the show was stellar from start to finish. I enjoyed every single match and everything seemed to have a purpose. Plus, I love the outside brawling of the Inner Circle and Cody and his crew. The only thing that stops it from giving it an A+ is if we would have had a clean-cut finish in the main event, but you know what? I understand why they went to the time limit draw. All right, guys, well, that's going to do it for this week's AEW Report. Leave me a comment below. Let me know what you thought about the show. And guys, make sure you subscribe here to Toned In Entertainment for future videos.
Subscribe to the channel. Do it. Go now. Do it now.